Hi, Kevin and friends. We are from Group 7. My name is Shoukat Ali Muradi and my friend Stefani and Stefani Nathasya. So, today we are going to present about the foundation of organizational structure. This is our table of contents. The first one and the second one is I'm going to present. The third and fourth and fifth and sixth is my friend will continue later on. The first one is the 7 elements of an organizational structure, and the second one is the characteristics of the simple structure and the bureaucracy and the matrix structure. So first, what is organizational structure? An organizational structure defines how job or tasks are formally divided, grouped, and coordinated. There are 7 key elements that managers should address. This is the 7 element. The first one is work specialization. The second one is departmentalization, and the third one is chain of command. The fourth one is span of control. The fifth one is centralization and decentralization. The sixth one is formalization, and the seventh one is boundary spanning. I'm going to go through each one of it very quickly. Work specialization or division of labor describe the degree to which activity in the organization are divided into a separate job. For demonstrated, the work can be performed more efficiently if work is specialized, and the practice still be application in many industries. For example, could you build a car by yourself? The answer is no likely. Equally, importing it's easier and less costly to find and train workers to do a specific task. This is work specialization. The second one is departmentalization. And departmentalization is once job have been divided through work specialization, they must be a group so common tasks can be coordinated. The basis which jobs are grouped is called departmentalization. In departmentalization, one the most popular ways to group activity is by the function performance. Manufacturing manager might organize plan into engineering, accounting, etc., etc. And the third one is chain of command. So the chain of command is an unbroken line of authority that extends from the top of the organization to the lowest and clarifies who reports to whom in order to make decision, and chain of command authority is applied. In this chain of command, authority refers to the right inherent in managerial position to give orders and to accept them to be obeyed. This is chain of command. And the fourth one is span of control. A span of control describes the number of levels and manager in an organization. It means that all things being equal, the wider or larger or span the favor to the level, and the more employees at each level, the more efficient the organization. This is they give as an example. Assume 2 organizations each have about 400 operative level employees. One has uniform span of 4 and the other has 8 as executive. The span of 8 will have 2 favor levels and approximately 800 favor managers. If the average manager makes $60,000 per year, the wider span will save $48 million a year is the manager salaries. So this is about the example of span of control. The fifth one is centralization and decentralization. What does it mean by this centralization? Centralization refers to the degree to which decision making is constructed a single pane in organization and centralized organization. Top managers make all the decision. It means that top manager make all the decision, and the lower level manager merely carry out their directives. Decentralized decision making is pushed down to the managers closest to action or the work group. And decentralized organization can act more quickly to solve problem. More people are provide input to the decision. In other words, more people is involved in this decentralization. The sixth one is formalization. Formalization refers to the degree to which jobs within the organization are standardized. If a job is highly formalized, the employee has a minimal amount of discretion over what to do and when and how to do it, resulting in consistent and uniform output. Formalization eliminates the possibility of employees engaging in alternative behavior, and it is remove the need for them to consider alternative. That is formalization. Seventh one is boundary spanning. What is boundary spanning? So boundary spanning occurs when individuals from relationships with people outside their formally assigned group. This system facilitates control and coordination for a specific task, but there is too much division within an organization. Attempts to coordinate across groups can be a disaster. In boundary spanning, this is all about boundary spanning. So second one is the simple structure and the bureaucracy and the matrix structure. This is a very common organization framework and structure. Organizational design are known by many names and consistently evolving in response to change in the way work is done. We will start with the three more common organizational framework. The first one is a simple structure, the second one is bureaucracy, and the third one is matrix structure. I'm going through each one of them right now. So the first one is simple structure. What is simple structure? The simple structure has a low degree of departmentalization, wide expanse of control, authority centralized in a single person, and a little formalization. It is a flat organization. It usually has only 2 or 3 vertical levels, a loose body of employees, and one individual with decision-making authority. Most companies start a simple structure, and many innovate technology-based firms with the short and spans, like cell phone, Apple development firms, remain companies by design. This is the example of simple structure. Second one is the bureaucracy structure. So an organizational structure with highly routine operating tasks achieved through specialization, very formalized roles and regulation, tasks that are grouped into functional and department, centralized authority, narrow span of control and decision making that follows the chain of command. So bureaucracy is a dirty word in many people's mind. However, this type of organization does have advantage and disadvantage, or that I'm going right now. So what is the next one? Okay, next one is, the matrix structure. So an organizational structure that creates dual lines of authority and combines functional and product departmentalization. The matrix structures combine of the functional and product structure, and we find in advertising agencies, for example, very in a very big companies like construction companies, hospital, government agencies, university, management, consulting firms, and entertainment companies that use matrix structure is like ABB, Boeing, BMW, IBM, and etc. They are using the matrix structure.
Now I'm gonna explain about the virtual structure, the team structure, and also the circular structure. So the virtual structure is a small core organization that outsources its major business functions. This virtual structure is highly centralized with little or no departmentalization. The prototype of this virtual structure is nowadays filmmaking organization. Today, most movies are made by a collection of individuals and small companies who come together and make films project by project together. This structural form allows each project to be staffed with the talent best suited to its demands rather than just with the people employed by the studio. It minimizes the bureaucratic overhead because there is no lasting organization to maintain, and it lessens long-term risks and costs. A team is formed for a certain period of time and then disbanded. So it's just like renting, just like the assets of this structure, why own when you can rent. So the major advantage of this virtual structure is its flexibility, which allow individual with an innovative idea and with little money to successfully compete against larger and more established organizations. The structure also saves a great deal of money by eliminating permanent office and hierarchical roles and for outsources function. The drawbacks have become increasingly clear as popularity has grown. This virtual organization also in the state of perpetual flux and reorganization, which mean that the roles, goals, and responsibilities are unclear, follow the political behavior. And this is the virtual structure shows a virtual structure in which management outsources all the primary function of the business. The core of the organization is a small group of executives whose job is to oversee directly any activities done in-house and to coordinate relations with the organization. The dotted lines represent the relations we typically maintain under contracts. So next, the team structure is an organizational structure that replaces department with empowered teams and that eliminates horizontal boundaries and external barriers between customer and suppliers. The team structure is an organizational structure that can create any time for the sudden project. This structure is also made up of employees who are reliable in solving problems and also making decisions, so they can provide solutions quickly to each of their boundaries. This structure uses a lot of time and human resources for meetings and discussion in order to discuss the problem. And here's the example of the team structures. Next, the circular structure is an organizational structure in which executives are at the center, spreading their vision outward in rings grouped by function, managers, then specialties, and workers. In the term of functionality, there is no much difference between the circular charts and other types. The difference are more uh, the difference are more psychological. So instead of seeing the organization as an authoritarian with executive barking out order from the top, the circular structure gives the impression that the organization is more inclusive, has a strong vision, better communication, and has made management become more accessible. So the circular structure has intuitive appeal for creative entrepreneurs. However, the employees aren't clear about whom they report to, and who is running the show, especially for those accustomed to traditional hierarchy. And now I'm gonna explain about the effect of downsizing. But first, what is downsizing? Downsizing is a systematic effort to make an organization leaner by closing location, reducing staff, or selling off business with units that don't add value. So downsizing doesn't necessarily mean physically shrinking the size of the office. Downsizing can be a solution in order to survive in response to declining demand products, so they need to cut its workforce. Also, some companies focus on lean management techniques to reduce bureaucracy and speed decision making. Despite the advantage of being a lean organization, the impact of downsizing on organizational performance is controversial. Reducing the size of the workforce perhaps has positive outcomes in the long term, although the majority of the evidence suggests that downsizing has a negative impact on the stock returns at that year. Part of the problem is also affect the employee attitudes. The employees who remain often feel worried about the future layoff, and they may be less committed to the organization and may experience a greater amount of stress and strain. But downsizing also can believe that can make the leftover employees work more optimal, so it's become more productive. So companies actually can reduce the negative impact of the downsizing by preparing in advance, and therefore effective strategies for downsizing. First one is invest. It may effectively invest in high involvement work practice afterward. Second is communicate. When employers make effort to discuss downsizing with employee early, employees are less worried about the outcome and feel that the company is taking their perspective too. The third one is participate. Employees worry less if they can participate in any kind of process. And the last one is assist. Extended healthcare benefit and job search assistance. See, it can demonstrate that the company cares about its employee and honors their contribution. And in short, companies that make themselves lean can be more agile, efficient, and productive, but only if they can make cuts carefully and help employees through the process.
Part 5, the reason for using mechanistic versus organic structural models. So why this structure differs? There are two extreme models of organizational design. The first one is mechanistic model. It is a structure characterized by extensive departmentalization, high formalization, a limited information network, and centralization. It is similar to bureaucracy. It has highly standardized process for work, high formalization, and more managerial hierarchy. The other extreme is the organic model. Organic model is a structure that is flat, uses cross-hierarchical and cross-functional teams, has low formalization, possesses a comprehensive information network, and relies on participative decision-making. It's flat, has fewer formal procedures for making decisions, has multiple decision makers, and favor flexible practices. In this section, we present major causes or determinants of an organization structure. Next is organization strategies. Because structure is meant to achieve objective and objective derived from the organization overall strategy, it's only logical that structure should follow strategy. Most current strategy frameworks focus on three strategy dimensions: innovation, cost minimization, and imitation. And the structural design that works best, which is the first one is innovation strategy, a strategy that emphasizes the introduction of a major new products and services. An innovation strategy strives to achieve meaningful and unique innovations. Innovative firms use competitive pay and benefits to attract top candidates and motivate employees to take risks. Some degree of the mechanistic structure can actually benefit innovation. The second one is cost minimization strategy. It is a strategy that emphasizes tight cost control, avoidance of unnecessary innovation or marketing expensive and price cutting. An organization with a cost minimization strategy control costs tightly, refrains from incurring unnecessary expenses, and cuts prices in selling basic products. Cost-minimizing organizations usually pursue fewer policies meant to develop commitment among their workforce. The third one is imitation strategy. It is a strategy that seeks to move into new products or new markets only after their viability has already been proven. Organizations with an imitation strategy try to minimize risks and maximize opportunity for profit, moving new products or entering new markets only after innovators have proven their viability. Next, organization size and technology. An organization size significantly affects its structure. Organizations that employ 2,000 or more people tend to have more specialization, more departmentalization, more vertical levels, and more rules and regulations. The second one is technology. Technology disrupts the way an organization transfers input into outputs. Every organization has at least one technology for converting financial, human, and physical resources into product or services. Organizations should be flexible and innovative structure to respond to customer, design new products, and adapt to new technology. Next is environment. An organization environment includes outside institutions or forces that can affect its structure, such as supplier, customer, competitor, and public pressure groups. Dynamic environments create significantly more uncertainty for managers than do static ones. To minimize uncertainty in key market arenas, managers may broaden their structure to sense and respond to threats. Most companies have added social media departments to counter negative information posted on blog. Any organization environment has three dimensions: capacity, volatility, and complexity. Capacity refers to the degree to which the environment can support growth. Volatility describes the degree of instability in the environment. Complexity is the degree of heterogeneity and concentration among environmental elements. Next is this picture summarizes the definition of the environment along its three dimensions. Given this three-dimensional definition of environment, we can offer some general conclusion about environmental uncertainty and structural arrangement. As conclusion, the more scarce, dynamic, and complex the environment, the more organic a structure should be. The more abundant, stable, and simple the environment, the more the mechanistic structure will be preferred. Next is institution. Another factor that shapes organizational structure is institution. Institution is cultural factor, especially those factors that might not lead to adaptive consequences that lead many organizations to have similar structures. Institutional theory describes some of the forces that lead many organizations to have similar structures and focuses on pressures that aren't necessarily adaptive. In fact, many institutional theories try to highlight the ways in which corporate behavior sometimes seems to be performance-oriented but are guided by the unconscionable social norms and conformity. External pressures are often difficult to see, specifically because we take them for granted, but that doesn't mean they aren't powerful. Part 6 is organizational designs and employee behavior. An organization structure can have significant effects on its members. Organizational structure does affect the employee and thus must be designed carefully. Not everyone prefers the freedom and flexibility of organic structure. Several factors stand out in different structures as well. In highly formalized, heavily structured mechanistic organization, the level of fairness in formal policies and procedure is a very important predictor of satisfaction. In more personal, individually adaptive organic organization, employees value interpersonal justice more. So, any discussion of the effect of organizational design on employee behavior should address individual differences. Considering cultural differences along with individual differences when predicting how the structure will affect employee performance and satisfaction. Lastly is summary. Structural relationships in which people work have a bearing on employee attitudes and behavior. Organization structure reduces ambiguity for employees and answer questions such as what am I supposed to do, how am I supposed to do it, to whom do I report, and to whom do I go if I have a problem. It shapes their attitudes and facilitates and motivates them to higher level of performance. That's all for our presentation. Thank you for listening.